Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Lush Foliage. In today's video we are going to be talking about this absolutely beautiful plant called as the Schismatoglottis. Now there are a lot of varieties, out of which these two varieties are the most common ones. This one I will put up the name on the screen, the scientific name, and there is another one which is called as Schismatoglottis Scortechinii. I'm mispronouncing the name, but anyways I'll put up the image and the scientific name of that plant as well on the screen, because these are the two very common ones and I'm sure you might have seen it online as well. Now the care requirement of this plant is absolutely easy. The only thing that you have to give is the basic care requirements, which we are going to be talking in this video. Now let's start off with light. Now guys, these plants even in their natural habitat as well, they get a good amount of indirect bright light or filtered light or dappled sunlight. They do not prefer direct sunlight. They can even handle a little bit less light as well, but if you want the plant to thrive and grow faster, then you'll have to offer either medium or indirect bright light, and that is going to work out really well. So you can keep it indoor as well as you can grow it outdoor as well. Indoor, if you're growing it, keep it near the windowsill where it gets a good amount of indirect bright light without the sun rays falling onto the leaves, because otherwise the leaves will get burned if you offer direct sunlight. Now talking about watering, the best thing about this plant is that the plant itself will tell you when it needs water. These plants are not drought tolerant. You cannot afford to keep the complete soil dry. You have to maintain an even moisture in the soil but not soggy wet soil. Try to water as soon as you see around 1 to 2 inches of the upper layer of soil is dry. Water it until the water starts passing through the drain hole. The plant itself will let you know that it needs water because the leaves will start to get droopy. Now the leaves are not droopy over here. This was basically a little bit of damage during the transit. You can see there was a big chunk that was missing. This was during the transit period. Probably the box was kind of smashed, but however the plant came in safely. All of the leaves were still intact. None of them happened to break off. This was the new leaf that started to come out and it looks absolutely beautiful, as you can see. So now talking about the soil mix, I have used the same soil mix, which is a mix of coco peat, garden soil, sand and perlite. They prefer a loose, porous, well-draining soil mix, yet it retains a slight amount of moisture. We do not want to overwater this plant. It may get a root rot, but still a lot of people say that this plant is quite resilient towards root rot, but it's always better to be safe. Now talking about temperature and humidity, they prefer a little bit higher humidity, anywhere above 50 to 60%. Temperature anywhere between 15 degrees Celsius up to 34-35 degrees Celsius is going to work out really well. Remember, these plants are tropical plants, so we all know what a tropical environment is, something that is very warm and it has a good amount of humidity. So you need to replicate a similar environment for this plant. Talking about pest issues, usually this plant will get affected with spider mites, so always turn the leaves and check. The moment you notice even one small little bug, get rid of it as soon as possible. Do not let the plant reach into an infestation stage. Now talking about propagation, this is a very easy plant to propagate. Unfortunately, you cannot do a stem cutting of the petiole. That is not going to work out. You cannot cut this portion. The plant over the period of time, this is not a vining plant. This is not a climbing plant, not a crawler, but it basically starts to grow horizontal. It starts to put out multiple shoots and it grows into a bush. So you can propagate this plant via a root division by separating these offsets. You'll have to take out the plant and separate them. So right now this plant is quite young, so I don't think probably in another year or so it will have a lot of shoots. That's when we will be able to propagate this. Right now it's quite young. Now I wanted to purchase the other variety as well. Unfortunately the other variety happened to get sold off, so this was the only variety that I found. It has this beautiful silver spots on it, or mottled leaves like this, and they get even more bigger. The leaf will turn probably another 3 or 4 times bigger than this. These are very young. I will put up the image of how the large plant tends to look like. The silver gets even more profound on the leaves and it looks absolutely beautiful. As I said, the care tips are pretty simple. So if you are looking out for a plant with mottled leaves, you can definitely get this plant. It looks quite a bit like an aglonema, a mix between aglonema and alocasia. Looks very similar to them. Alocasia, because it has these long petioles with a leaf on it, which is similar to an alocasia. At the same time, the coloration tends to look a lot like what our aglaonemas tend to have. You might have seen the aglaonemas that I've shown you. So it's very similar pattern of the variegation or the mottled variegation on them. It has this silver, a little bit like Scindapsus as well. So it looks absolutely beautiful. So if you're a person who's looking out for this plant, you can definitely add it in your collection. Today, both of these varieties are readily available, so you can check it out. Talking about toxic, yes, this plant is toxic to humans and pets, so ensure you're keeping this plant away from the reach. Apart from that, it's a very, very easy to grow plant, provided you give the basic care that we have just spoken about. Give it a good amount of indirect bright light, check on the watering, and everything is going to work out really well. I would say probably the growth rate is a little bit fast, not very, but if you're going to give the proper conditions, a good amount of light, the plant is set to grow at a very fast rate. Now, talking about fertilizers, add fertilizers only during the summer season, which is their growing period. During winters, cut down on the watering and do not add any fertilizers. That's all about it. It's a very, very easy to grow plant. So if you're looking out for a very unique looking plant which has very less care requirements, then this is one of the plant you can add in your collection. So guys, that's all about it. I hope that this video was helpful to you. If it was, please hit the like button, and if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to it. Until then, take care, stay safe, and keep propagating.